Hello my lovely floss tube friends, welcome back to the channel. A very warm welcomes to you all. Although it's not warm here, it's freezing by the way. Just thought I'd share that. A special warm welcome to the 58 new subscribers to the channel. Thank you for hitting the subscribe button, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the content that I create here. Guys, so much to talk about and so little time to do it in, and the only reason I say that is because I already did all this yesterday. So you had the animated, the super enthused, the I'm so excited Teresa talking about all the things yesterday, only to find that this morning when I sat down to edit the video in the hope that you would get it on, you know, my Sunday evening, you had something that sounded a cross between a robot and, I don't know, a chipmunk. There was no coming back from that. So I've spent all morning this morning trying to find out what went wrong with the microphone so that I actually sound like me, which, yeah, it's always nice to sound like me instead of like a chipmunk. What is on the agenda for today? So today's agenda, we've got obviously the whips, the works in progress, because I have done a bit of stitching, which is always fabulous. We've got an unintentional new start using my new favourite digital app, Saga. Yeah, more about that shortly. We've got the new 2026 project trackers that are for the Excel spreadsheets. They're now finally done and uploaded on my website for those that love to do their tracking with the Excel spreadsheets. But I have been playing and dabbling with just something a little bit different because you know me, I like a little bit of variety in the hobbies, so a little something else to share with you there. There's a whole lot of quilting stuff. I say a whole lot, it's not massively, but yeah, there's quilting stuff. So for my quilting friends and for the people that just like to know what I've been doing with my time when you don't see me, there's that towards the end of the video. So I went to the Newmarket Quilt Show on the 8th of November, so I'll talk about that. I did make some purchases, so I'll be sharing that. And also I've got two new quilty type projects that I've started, so I wanted to share those with you. And then there's a little bit of life update. There's a just general call to action. I need your help. When don't I need floss tube help? I always need floss tube help. As well as Blackpool didn't happen. I'll explain why at the end of the video. And the lovely Miss Lollipop Sims, for those of you that know Miss Lollipop Sims or Miss Lollipop, is my daughter, who is also over on YouTube, not FlossTube, but YouTube. Unfortunately, she had a unpleasant stint in hospital, and yeah, I'll share all of that at the end if I can whiz through this at lightning speed, she says. So without further ado, should we just crack on and get on with the cross stitch related stuff first? So let's start with the unintentional new start, shall we? Back when I was at the Essex Needles Retreat in September, I made a purchase of a number of charts, of which one of them was this one, and the lovely Love Poppet. Claire from Love Poppet was one of the vendors at the Essex Needles Retreat. So I picked up this and a couple of other lovely charts. There's quite a few people that are actually working on this one, and they decided they was going to have like a, you know, that they was all going to start together. The original plan, I think, was to start it towards the back end of October, but due to family issues, which I will talk about later in the life update, unfortunately I couldn't join my band of merry men, so to speak. So I was a little late to the party, I'll be honest with you. So this one is Night Riders by Love Poppet. It is being stitched, she says, on, I kitted it myself. I just got the chart from Claire whilst I was at the ENR, and then everything else I got from Stash. So it calls for all DMC chart, all DMC threads. There we go. There's the list of DMCs. And as you can see, it was a Halloween sale back in 2024. I never remembered seeing this, but I absolutely love it. The fabric that I decided to go for was this lovely fabric. As you can see, it's an opalescent. This is a 28 count Brittany even weave in the colorway Moon Dust Opal. And I got this from the Crafty Kitten. And I must have had it in my stash years ago, but I think it's going to be perfect for this, given that That's the colour. It's ever so slightly more grey probably, and this is, I don't know, that probably looks darker than this, but this was the closest that I had. So unfortunately this is what we went with. But I was like, I think it could do with some sparkle. So we sparkled up. The only snag with this was in this chart, in this PDF chart, when I opened it, I didn't realise how small the chart would be, and it was a little bit too tricky for my old eyes here. Whilst I was at the ENR, the lovely Lauren from Cross Stitch Bunny had actually already showed me that she uses for her Russian and Ukrainian charts. A lot of the Etsy sellers actually do compatible charts with Saga. So of course, for a one-off fee, I decided it was worth it. I downloaded it, but at the time I didn't have anything to put in it to try and stitch. So when I saw this chart and how small it was, originally I was thinking, well, whilst I'm at work, I can do a PDF copy. I'm not a lover of markup XP. I just can't get my head around it, and I've tried, probably not enough, but I've tried. Obviously Pattern Keeper it won't go into, so I was like, well, that only really leaves me GoodNotes. So when I reached out to Claire from Love Poppet and said to her, I don't suppose you can do this in a compatible sort of format for Saga. She had a little look into it, and she was like, she said, it's just a different format. She said, I'll have a go. So she did. Love her. She had a go. She sent it through to me, and would you believe it? It worked, people. It worked on there. I was overjoyed, absolutely overjoyed. So not only have I got this lovely new pattern that I've started, so my unintentional new start, but also it gave me the opportunity to play in this new digital app. Now, guys, you know I love a digital app, right? It's the thing. Yeah, I love anything that's electronic. Especially when I look at charts on paper and I'm like, I can't see it. I cannot see it for the life of me. With my magnifying eyes, yes, probably I could. But without my magnifying eyes, then no. It was just, it had to be done. So, like I say, the lovely Claire sent over to me the Saga compatible chart. Now, one little caveat is that for some bizarre reason, the key that's on this isn't matching the key that is on Saga. However, it's just that the whole key is different to this one, which I was totally fine with because I only done one stick. I done one column from the chart and was just like, oof. Unless I blow this up and put it on GoodNotes. And GoodNotes, the problem with GoodNotes is, yes, it's an annotation type PDF thing, so you can just squiggle on it and mark it off, but it doesn't do the sorts of things that the digital apps do. For those of you that haven't had any experience with Saga, I'm going to share my screen so that you can see this. So let me share my screen. This is the Cross Stitch Saga. For those that have used this, then, you know, I'm not showing you anything that's new. But for me, this has been a bit of a game changer, and I am absolutely loving it. What I like about Saga so far is when I click over here, you can see there's 3 charts on there. Those are not all mine. The 2 to the right are like sample type charts. The one to the left is my one. So that is my Night Riders. As you can see, I'm a whole whopping 8.18% done, which is fabulous. And oh, it's great, people. So first of all I do is I click on it and it goes straight in, same as Pattern Keeper and the same as Markup XP. What I love about this is, as you can see, I can just move around with 2 fingers. I'm not going to move around too much because obviously I can't show you the chart. Where there is a little cross up at the top left hand corner, it looks like a crisscross of pencils. When you click on that, all of your threads come down. The round circle shows you the colour. The next one is the key, which obviously, as I've worked out, is different to the one on the paper chart, but I'm fine with that because I hadn't started with the paper chart. And then inside what looks like the sort of oblong bubble, it says 03, so that's the number of the thread, which is totally fine because I can use that to correspond with anything that was on the chart anyway, on the original paper version. And then you've got like a little triangle down, and then next to that it's got a number. That's the number of cross stitches that you do in that colour. So, and it's fabulous. You know, I mean, you can see at the moment I've already selected the 0.4, so it's shown me what's selected. So if I go to, what's the next color? So let's go to ecru, which is right at the bottom, and click on that. Then all of the ecru comes up. Love, 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 love it. And to make it go away, you just click on it again to make it go away. A lot of people are sort of sitting there thinking, well, you know, it's the same as anything else, but it's slightly different for me. So as example, you can see where I've got like the 7, 4, 9, 10, 4, 6, 5. All of these is counting rows. Now, you know how much I have a problem with counting. I can't count more than 10. I don't need to anymore because this does it for me. And what I love about it, so if I use over on the left-hand side, you can see where it says 11, 5, 12 and 6 on the left-hand side. And then above that, in the green, you've got 4, 6, 5. Now, the ones in green are counting the horizontal for me. The ones that are in blue are counting my vertical lines. So it doesn't matter in which direction I want to go, it's going to count for me. But what it also does is if I mark one off like that, it changes it for me. So if I mark that one, I mark that one, I mark that one. As I mark, it moves. How brilliant is that? And then literally to undo, I can just go back and undo the ones that I've just said I've marked. And all it is a flick of that little pencil. The pencil turns upwards to mark off. Downwards is marked. So this way round. So when the pencil is pointing downwards, it will mark off on the chart. And when the pencil is turned upside down, it can unmark for me when I go wrong. I absolutely love it. But what I also love about it is up on the menu bar across the top, you'll see what one looks like I don't know, it looks like a plotted line, like a graph. It's got dots and then it's got lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one in from the left. When I click on that one, I love this. Look at that. So it tells me that the whole chart is 9,422 stitches. It tells me that I've already stitched 771 stitches and I have a grand sum total of 8,651 stitches to go. How glorious is that? But what it also does is, as you can see over on the right hand side, it tells me what I stitched on what days. So all I do to get this to come up, obviously you've got the calendar. But what I do is you'll see next to the calendar, there's like a clock. When I click on that clock, it gives me that start point. So I click on that when I first start stitching, and when I finish stitching, it says stop the clock. And then it records to say, okay, you stitched on that day, this number of stitches between these times. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So like literally I can go through here and see what days I stitched, how many stitches I did, and then obviously over on the left hand side it's given me the grand sum total, and then you can see the progress bar 8.18%. Love, 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 people. Absolutely love working with this app. I have to say it is glorious, absolutely glorious. You know when you're just like, oh, I found a new favorite thing. The only snag with it, I mean, you can go in and make loads of changes. There's plenty of videos up already on FlossTube about Saga and how people use it. Of course, if you would like me to demo when I'm stitching on it, then of course I'm happy to do that, but I'm pretty sure that there's nothing that I can tell you that other people haven't already talked about how it works and what they use it for. You can change all of the colors. It's, yeah, I'm loving it. I think the only snag now is finding vendors and designers that actually create the chart in the format that is required for Saga, because it's a completely different format. It's not a PDF, it's something completely different. But it just goes to show you. So now I would have thought that she would only be able to give me a PDF chart, in which case I would have had to have used GoodNotes. But just by asking the question, can she do a Saga compatible chart instead of a PDF? And she was like, voila. And I was like, oh, I'll be your guinea pig. I think it's the first time she's done it. I'm not sure whether she'll be doing it as general consensus if you was to reach out and ask her, but yeah, I have to say, people, I was super, super happy when that happened. So back to my lovely project here. So literally, it made it so much easier to do all of this just by using the app and being able to mark off bit by bit. I absolutely love it. So like I say, I'm 8.18% complete. I'm in the middle, so you can see where I'm doing. So basically this is this bit and I've done this bit. But yeah, not too shabby for a new start. I can't wait. I can't wait to get to these little bats. I mean, I know we're sort of like, arguably you could say, well, actually, Teresa, you're a little bit behind on the times because, you know, we're heading into Thanksgiving and Christmas and you're stitching Halloween. But hey, it's a good start. And you know what? I never thought that I was really a Halloween-y type person, but I am actually really a Halloween-y type person. I do like Halloween things. It's just having the time to do the stitching. Of course, we had to have a delivery man turn up. Where was I? How many days did I stitch on this one? So I'm referring to the notes again. Actually, I'm referring to my project tracker is what I'm doing. So Night Rider was started on the 4th of November and I stitched on it for four evenings that got. And because obviously I also have been tracking it, because I don't just track. So anything where I've got a digital tool that tracks the stitch count or the number of stitches that I do, I'll track it in that, but I'll also track the number of days. But I've also, because it's done on digital and it tells me how many stitches I've done, I've also tracked it on my stitch count. Yep, 771 stitches over those 4 days. I was like, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Loving it. Loving it, people. I have to say, I do love it. I do love something to make my life a little easier. So we also stitched on something a little different. Now, I was on the train, as I always am when I'm going into London, and I needed a project because I think I needed to take the laptop into work with me. And unfortunately, my very big project, well, the normal project that I'm carrying in my bag, which is my stocking, that's fairly substantial sized and that goes in my rucksack. Now, that's fine if I'm not taking anything else with me. Unfortunately, I needed to take other stuff into town with me. So I was like, I need something smaller. So I'm like, what have I got that was smaller? And then I pulled up this. And I was like, oh, I completely forgot about this. This, my lovelies, I think I shared this yonks ago, she says, yonks ago on here, where I started a mill hill. And once again, as usual, I sort of put it away. And I think it was because I'd actually done something wrong on it. And I was like, that means I've got to sit and try and unpick it. And I wasn't really feeling that, if I'm honest. So what is it that I'm talking about, I hear you say? It is this one. The Bye Bye Birdie by Spring Bouquet by Mill Hill. So I'd made a start on this, and this I love. I love this. This idea, when I think I got this off of Rachel from Talking Dog Stitchery. This is a game changer. These little wooden magnetic. Look at that. I love it because also it holds. It's like a magnet for my needles, which is great when I'm on the train. So literally, it's so much easier to use this than it is to try and hold the paper. I always end up with my perforated paper looking all bent and a bit, yeah, it needs a lot of manipulating after I've been holding it. But literally, I'm just putting that in there and then look at that. Look at that. So much easier, people. So much easier. So let me put something behind it. So I've been working on this. Now, I think there's two parts. So this is where people got confused, where they're like, Teresa, I don't think you've left enough room to finish the bird, because I'd put this right in the middle. And obviously I'd shown this on the video. And I was like, no, it's fine, because this is on one colour perforated paper and the bird is on a different coloured perforated paper. So I think the last time you saw this, I'd already done all of the stitching on this bit. So I was like, right, well, there's no time like the present, of course. I got my handy dandy bead holder. Would you look at the fluff and stuff on that? Look how disgusting that is. I don't care. It's going on the train with me. So, of course, I decided that it was time to start flicking beads at all the commuters into London, as usual. Luckily for me, I seem to have got a better aim, or I've got a better technique so that they're not just pinging off of the needle anymore. But yeah, so we made a start with the beading. So we've done the beading on this section here. And then I switched over. I made the alterations to the bird. I say alterations. I corrected my errors on my little bird of the stitching, and decided that it was time to add the beads to this one too. So as you can see, we've made a really good start on the beads. So we've got some beads on this one and some beads on that one, and it all comes in the little kit. I've still got this weird looking, I'm not sure what I think of this yet, but that's the bit that goes around the outside of him. There's some more stitches that need to go in there, but I was like, let's just do my outlines with my beads first, and then I will go back in and do some more stitching. I think actually the day that I was doing this, I'd forgotten my scissors, so I couldn't do the threads because I completely lost the scissors. And I'm like, well, if I can't cut the thread, I'll only be able to do one strand. Whereas with the beading, because obviously I use a slightly longer thread, I was like, well, that should get me through one whole commute, which it did, because I only actually stitch on my way into London, not on my way home, because it's like I've got narcolepsy. Once I've done a day's work and I get back on my overhead train, because I have to do all of the tubes, I have 3 changes on the tubes to get back to my main line overhead. By the time I get there, I'll guarantee you I'll never make it out of Fenchurch Street Station. I'm asleep by then. So where did we get to? So this one. So this one I stitched in October, and it got 3 mornings on the train. 3 mornings on the train. And like I say, not only did I do a bit of stitching and correct the stitching, but I also did the beading. So yeah, the days of flicking beads at businessmen, unintentionally, of course. It's not like I do that on purpose. It's just, you know, once you sort of like, because these are so sticky, and then you get your needle and you sort of, you put your needle in the hole of the bead, and unless you've got your finger in exactly the right space, when you go like this, it's sort of stuck, so it sort of flicks. And if you don't have your finger over the top of the needle at just the right angle and just the right point, the bead just pings off and goes flying. Last time it was, you know, it was businessmen in their suits. They were not amused. Nowadays, very little businessmen on the trains going into town from here. It's more like the workmen. And to be honest, a bead sticking to them is absolutely nothing to some of the things they've got stuck to their trousers already. That it's honestly, I get on the train and then they go to sit next to me and I'm like, oh God, you're filthy. And I'm like, you've got all dirt all over you. And I'm like, and that's first thing in the morning. They must just not bother to wash their clothes, is all I can say. But hey, what can I say, people, other than the fact that a little project like this on the train with the new handy dandy wooden holders for the Mill Hill beads is a bit of a deal breaker. But look at the difference. Carrying this into London versus carrying that into London. Sort of says it all. But of course, I don't always want to work on one of these. But that got 3 days worth of stitching, or 3 mornings worth of stitching. So, since as this is sat here anyway, I might as well share with you this one. So this is my predominant train project, she says, if I can turn it around the right way. I wouldn't say we're going exactly gun-ho here, people. And I can't remember the last time I shared this with you. So let me move this out of the way. But it is this one. So this is my Shepherd's Bush Terry's stocking. This is my working copy that I take on the train so that, you know, it can get bent and folded up as much as it likes. So this one, Terry Stocking got, so I'd already done some of it in October when I'd done my last video, of which it wasn't a video, was it? It was a live stream. But since then, I done 3 more days on this in October and 2 more days in November. And this is where I got to. Would you look at that? So we've got a lot of body. I don't know where we got to the last time you saw it. If I've got images, I'll put an image next to it so that you can see where you last saw it. But yeah, I've managed to get quite a lot more done. I mean, I don't think I had any of the arm or the sleeve done. I've definitely done more on the body. Now you'll notice this bit. There was a little issue, but then when isn't there a little issue with me? It's a thing. Sorry, there was a bit of fluff hanging. As an explanation, so I was stitching this section down here. I got to here and I'm like, do I just keep going across? And I was like, well, do you know what? It would actually be easier if I knew where this stops. And then that way I can just do the flowery sections and then just do infill stitching. That was my original plan. So I went along here and round here and up here. And I did actually go all the way up and across the top, which was fine. Until I done this arm. And I done the arm and then I obviously figured out where this bit went. And would you believe it? I was less than a stitch. It was like half a stitch wrong. But then I couldn't work out where it had gone wrong. So I had to do nothing more than unpick it all the way back to here. Stitch all this bit in. And then I think I'm going to have to do the same with this. I mean, this is easy because it's one straight thread. I can just rip all this back. But once I start getting over there, then I'll rip this back. So for now, it's sort of sticking there like that because, yeah, once again, trees I can't count. But I don't think we did too bad on this one. So my Terry's stocking got 6 days worth of stitching since you last saw it. I mean, the plan was to have this ready for Christmas this year. I don't think that's going to happen. And not unless all of a sudden I have so very little things to do in my life. But unfortunately, yeah, I think I might have a good portion of it done by Christmas. And if I was to just dedicate myself to it, I could have it done, you know, it would be so much faster. But I don't have time to be dedicating myself to any one thing at the moment because there's just too many things. So yeah, I don't think that one is going to be ready for this Christmas. I could be wrong. I mean, yes, I know I could challenge myself, but I've got a lot of challenging. And there's lots of other things that I really, really want to do at the moment. So I'm like, no, let's not commit to it. If it happens, then it will be glorious. But yeah, the likelihoods are very slim, in all fairness. What else did we stitch on? So we also stitched on my so-called focus piece, of which it's not been focused at all. Well, I say it's not been focused at all. That's not strictly true. Now, I'm going to try and do this without making lots and lots of noise because I'm taking it. I mean, it is on the scroll bars. And it is living out in the living room at the moment. My eyes have to be willing to be able to do this. I have to be honest. Swing you over so you can have a little looky. Here she is. How gorgeous is she? Let me just unravel her. Now, I thought you'd be able to see all of her, but you can't. So, alternative reality. 1/1, full cross. And I'm working in this new way where the idea is, she says, if it doesn't fall off the table, my idea is to try and get rid of some of these parked threads and start doing block by block stitching and then stitching in whatever's left within a certain radius. So I'm not going very far because the counting's never going to improve, I don't think. I'm not quite sure where you last saw this, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I don't think I'd done this bit. Well, you can see I've got more of her dress. So I've been working in this area. You can tell where I've been working because there's less threads. So wherever there's less threads, then you know I've been there. Wherever there's still lots and lots of threads, I've not quite got there. So I've definitely worked on this section here. I don't think I did any more on this bit. I think the next portion that I would started on was this bit over here. So yeah, so I've been working in and around this area trying to fill up the blocks and get rid of the park threads. But it's definitely a work in progress, people. Definitely a work in progress. So what did we manage to achieve on alternative reality? So alternative reality got 4 days in October. Alternative reality, this is where it gets really interesting and why I love my trackers. When I'm working on Pattern Keeper, other than seeing how much I stitched for the day, I don't really have any real understanding or real knowledge of how much that equates to through the course of days, where my tracker tells me all of that. So my project tracker says that alternative reality, I did one session of 206 stitches, another session of 235 stitches, another one of 118 stitches, and then I got 389 stitches, then 149 stitches. That gave me, get this, a whopping 1097 stitches stitched on this one. How bizarre is that? Now, this is the thing. When I'm sitting and stitching on this, it doesn't look like I've done much, especially when we're talking numbers like 200 stitches, you know, 200, 149. When you look at a project at this size, you can't see that. So it's like, God, I'm doing all this stitching and I'm getting nowhere. But she says, when I then look at it and I look at what my tracker says, and it says I've done 1097 stitches that month, I can actually see it, because I'm like, well, yeah, but you know, by the time you add all of this up, there's probably a good chunk of those stitches in there, and a few down here. But before that, I'd be like, well, you know, it doesn't seem to matter how many times I pull this out or how much I stitch on it. It just doesn't really seem to be moving. But it is. And when I see it like that, when I see it like a big number, 1097 stitches over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, I'm like, I'll take that. I will take that. This is why I love my little handy dandy Excel spreadsheet trackers, because otherwise I would be sitting there going, well, you know, I stitched on that 5 evenings. I can't even see what I've achieved. I can't see a thing. I'm going to put it back on its frame whilst I talk to you. So this is the reason that I love using my trackers, because although I sit there and think, well, you know, Pattern Keeper tells you, and, you know, now that I'm working with the Cross Stitch Saga app, you know, that tells you, but actually I like it when I look at my year view and I can see all of the projects, all of the amounts over all of the months, and I can get a real sense of, you know, I actually stitched a lot more on those over the course of the year than I thought I did. That's the bit I like, and that's the bit I lose by just accepting, you know, that Pattern Keeper is going to tell me, you know, how many stitches I achieved. It doesn't tell me how many stitches I achieved for the year or how many stitches I've achieved over 6 months, whereas my Excel spreadsheet tracker does, but it also shows me across all of my full coverage pieces or all of my ones where it's digitally counting. Love, 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 love. Okay, next whip. I am trying to be like, because I was yesterday. If you'd have seen me yesterday, I was stoked yesterday. Yesterday I was like, guys, look how good I've been, look how much I've done. And then now I'm like, yep, we've already said all this. Admittedly, I mean, it's a good job I don't script these videos, because then it would be really bad, because I would just be repeating myself literally on autopilot. Whereas this is just ad lib, as it comes. So the next project that we worked on, she says, is my Life is an Open Book Storykeep. Again, it's a full coverage. Life is an open book. I'll put it on the screen for you. So this one, yeah, this one, it's disappointing that I haven't got further on than I am, but I'll accept it. So this one, she says, this one I haven't even shown you. This one, again, got way more stitching than I realised. So I'd worked some over here, but I'd done lots over here, and then I'd done bits and pieces down here. But it all was just like tying threads in. And you can see where I've really tied the threads in, because there's only a few sort of park threads still left to put in. But I'm not just going in and putting in the park threads. I'm actually still working in my 10 by 10 block. And then whatever threads I've got that fall outside of that 10 by 10, then I'm stitching them in. I am finding it helps with reference points. However, I am finding that I'm making a fair few mistakes, but I think that just might be me. That's the beauty of working in my 10 by 10 blocks and not going outside of them. I'm not then using other things as reference points and then realise actually it was all in the wrong place. So there is, yeah, there are ups and downs to this whole, you know, working in my 10 by 10 blocks and then parking the threads versus this method. But I'm really trying to give this a good crack. So I'm like, well, I'm not giving up on it yet. It's just I'm getting used to a new way of doing it. So I'm sure my counting will get better and better and better. She says, how long have I been on FlossTube? Have you ever known my counting to get any better? No. So Life is an Open Book was stitched on 2 days. 2 days this got in October. And yeah, would you believe it? This got a whopping 1,422 stitches put into it. I know. I was like, by looking at it, I would never have thought it. Maybe if I put something, you know, if I have the picture of where we last saw it and the picture now, side by side, maybe that will show the difference. If I've got pictures that I can remember the last time I shared it, I'll try putting them in and we can see. But yeah, I think personally, seeing it on my planner, saying that's how much I stitched is, that makes me feel better. Because when I look at this, I don't really feel like I've done that much on there. But I've obviously done a lot more than I realised. More than happy with that. So, like I say, 1,422 stitches that one got. And that didn't get stitched on at all in November. I put this one away. And of course, the 4th of November was when Night Rider come out. And that's sort of... That's taken up a lot more of my time. And there's a little bit of a story about this. So, at the beginning of the video, I said, unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to go and dance at Blackpool as originally planned, which was in November. I think the first weekend in November on the Sunday. But I was due to go up on the Saturday. Unfortunately, poor Lolly became very unwell and got hospitalised and then was kept in hospital. So, you know, when you're like, do I cancel? Don't I cancel? I'm like, I can't go with her in the hospital, and I certainly wouldn't leave her if she needs me. And to be honest, Blackpool was the last thing I was even thinking about. I was like, I don't really care. I don't really care. I need, you know, my baby's in hospital, and yeah, I need to be there every day. Then eventually, I mean, they're not very clear about when you're going to be released and when you're going to be let out. So literally on the day we found out, on the Friday night, that she was that they'd decided they was going to release her. And I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, this is the same kid that can't stand upright and you're going to release her anyway. I'm saying nothing. The NHS, unfortunately, is on its knees here in the UK. I'll talk about that a little bit later in my life update. But yeah, needless to say, Lauren ended up coming out of hospital on the Friday night. Yes, I could have thrown myself together and jumped in the car on the Saturday morning, but I was in no fit state. My brain was not in the right frame of mind. I didn't have anything ready. Because I was unsure what was going on with Lauren, I couldn't cancel anything. So literally, I didn't cancel the hotel. I didn't cancel my hair. Didn't cancel the makeup. And by the time I was in a position that I'm like, no, I'm not going. I'm going to stay at home. I need to be here for Lauren. It was already too late. I didn't get any of my money back. But do you know what? I was like, I'll lose all that money all day long as she's okay. But yeah, needless to say, I didn't go to Blackpool. So because I couldn't be there in person, what I could do is pay a fee and I could watch it live on like a channel, a streaming channel. So I was like, do you know what? If I can't be there in person, I will live vicariously through the others at my dance school. So that's exactly what I did. So whilst I was sitting here, I thought, well, I think I could actually be quite productive. I could sit here all day, watch dancing and watch all my friends competing and do my stitching. That was the plan. So we pulled out my lovely soda Stitch Gnomes. What is it? Cross Stitch... Cross Stitch Supplies Delivery is what it's called, by Soda Stitch. If I've got an image, I'll put a picture of it in here so you can see it. I already had these two done and I started working on this one here. Now, considering I sat here all day, I would have expected to have had a whole lot more stitching done than that, but I was watching dancing people and I was just so it was so lovely to sit and watch that I'm like, yeah, sorry, gnomes. I'm like, I can't stitch you and watch the dancing. But I also did do some recording for my friends, the ones that were dancing, because obviously when you're there, it's very hard to record because there's lots and lots of people in the way on the dance floor. The way they record it on the stream was that I could record my screen so that they could see sort of like the shots that the professionals were videographing. So I made them like little videos of them doing their dancing. Yeah, it was lovely to watch, and I did use my time wisely, but not wisely enough that I did much stitching. But every little counts. Every little counts. So Soda Stitch Gnomes, literally I only stitched on this for the Sunday the 2nd of November, and just sort of did these bits. But I think the reason I've been quite hesitant to do this, I mean, I wouldn't mind. I've only got one more gnome to do. But I think it's the cotton ball on the top. Because I'd already said the cotton ball, I was going to do French knots. So I think I sort of dragged my feet because the thought of, you know, once I've stitched this last gnome, I have lots and lots of French knots to do. So, yeah, I might have... That may have been the reason. It might not have been the reason, but that's what I'm telling myself. That's the reason that I'm reluctantly pulling this one out. I mean, really, there's not much to do, and that would be another little finish, which would be lovely to get before the end of the year. It would mean a whole lot of French knot stitching, because the whole thing would be all French knots. So I don't know. I don't know yet. But it did get a little bit of love. It did get dusted off completely. Whilst I was sitting there watching the Blackpool dancing, which was glorious. Glorious to watch people. What else to tell you? I think that is it on the stitching front, in all fairness. The new project trackers. So I've talked about those throughout this video already. So it's only really fair that I actually show you what I'm talking about, really. So for those of you that already know what these are, it's going to make total sense. And for those of you that have never seen them before, then yeah, I'm about to... This is just, I mean, I'm not going to do a demo unless someone really needs a demo. I think I've done a demo on my channel previously, where I've shown how you work with these and what you need to do. But I'll give you a quick overview of the new ones. This one is the Tracking Stitches tracker. As you can see, you've got your months of the year at the bottom on the tabs. Each one is a separate sheet, so imagine it like a book. And then all you do is, when you get to your planning phase, like I'm at, because I'm ahead of the game this time, you go into the WIPs tab, you select your WIP, you put all your WIP information in, so that would be your project name, the date you started it, the designer, the fabric type, the colorway, the threads you used, and you put all of your WIPs into this section. Once you have your WIPs in this section, you then go into your months, and then when you go to this drop down, it will automatically populate all of your whips. So as and when you work on something for that month, so for instance, if I go to whip 2, I can go to whip 2, and then I can say, well, I stitched on this 200 stitches, and then I stitched on it again 150 stitches, and you can see that it automatically starts to tally up what you've got over here. So then all of your whips that you've stitched on, say in January, will then show up over here. If you've got, so as example, let's go to project 1. If, for instance, you've got all of your whips in and you've got some whips that you've worked more on and some that you've worked less on, you'll see that it's got trend bars to explain to you, like, so that you can easily see at a glance what you've worked a lot on and what you haven't worked so much on. So you go through your months like that. But what you also do, so when you're loading this up for the very first time and you're putting all of your projects and your project details into this spreadsheet, what I do is I go to the year view, and I go to the year view, and then I go and literally work through all of my projects one after the other, so that every single one of them that is in it shows up on your year view, so that way, as and when you're stitching in the months using these month tabs, you can at any point through the course of the year go to your year view, and you will be able to easily see here what projects, what months you stitched on it, how much you've stitched on it throughout the course of the year, and all this updates and changes as the year goes on. And I love the fact that, again, it's got trend bars. So for projects that you stitched more on, you'll see that there's a trend bar here. And for projects that you've worked less on, you'll get like a smaller trend bar. Also, when you finish a project, so as example, this one at the moment thinks that it was started on the 14th of November 2024. But if I say that this one was finished on the 11th, the 11th of November as example, and I put a finish date in there, when I now go into my year view, you'll see that it's blocked it out. So you can see that anything that turns this green color at the end of the year, everything that you've finished, you can clearly see, oh, I've finished, you know, 5 or 6 projects, but it will show you which ones you've finished. As example, if I go back in and I take out that finish date, delete that back out, and we go back to our year view, then you can just see, you'll just see all of the data that it draws down. And then what I have added in years gone by, and again this year, is the WIPGO boards. For those of you, you put your projects in there, and then whatever month it's called, you change to there, and then as and when you meet your goal, you literally change the end to goal met. So I just put a G in. Once you put a G in, it will change the color. So that way you can easily see what you achieved and what you haven't achieved, as the case may be. You could be much more diligent than me. And again, that will change back if you change the color. So we've got that. But what I have added for this year that wasn't there previously is this stats tab. So at the bottom, right at the very end, is the stats. Some people actually really like to see some more data, say. And this is another thing where you've got to love a bit of data. So for instance, all of your projects where you've got the total stitches. So the whip is going to pick up from your, this is going to pick up from your previous stuff. So everything that you put into here, all of the whips here, you will be able to go into here and you will be able to pick up the whips from this column. It will auto generate. So then all you need to do is you put in the total stitch count. So whatever your chart or your pattern says it needs. So whatever your chart or pattern is, so if for instance this one is a 200,000 stitches design, and as example I've stitched on it already back last year or previous years, you can put stitches in there that you've already completed, and then from this point onwards this all auto generates. So this is picking up obviously the calculations of what's already been stitched this year. This here is showing you the completed percentage of the total amount that you completed previously here. So 43.5% of it was completed before 2026. This is your percent completed this year. So obviously because this thinks that I've only stitched 10 stitches, it's like 0.1%. This change versus prior is sometimes, if you're like me, I like to know, did I stitch more this year on these projects than I did last year? This is just going to tell you the difference of the percent between what you stitched previously and what you stitched this year. And then this point here is saying this is your total remainder. So this is how much is left to get your project completed. But once you start putting all of your data in, so as example, if I go here, I can just select WIP 3. If there was information about WIP 3, that would drop in here. So it's just another data point type thing. So that's the one. This is the tracker that I would use if I just counted stitches and I was using like the full coverage stuff. If, however, you prefer to track by day and just you're only actually interested in the number of days you've stitched, then this is the tracker for you. So this is the pink one. Again, you put your WIPs, you list your WIPs out here, all of your information goes into this section, and then from there you can use the monthly tabs. The difference here is this has a key. So because I'm a multi-crafter, and I know that there are a fair few of you that are also multi-crafters, I've made it so that it covers a number of things. So S for stitched, so i.e. if you stitched on it that day, you just put an S in. If you finished it, that will go in. If you FFO'd it, you can put that in. New starts, so, and that doesn't matter whether it's a new start of any project, you can just put N in and it will know that it's a new start. Your Q is for your sewing and quilting, because I need that in my life right now. And then for those of you that do knitting and crochet, then you could use that one also. But basically, it's sort of very similar. So as example, if we pretend that, enter your WIP names here. If we pretend that this was a WIP, and I can say, right, well, I stitched on this one those days. And then WIP 2 was a new start. So I'll just... go over here and we'll go new start, and then I'm going to say I stitched on that. And then you could say, okay, well, WIP 3 actually is a completely different project, it's something quilty related, so I would just put Q in. But as you can see, it color codes, so you can easily see what you've been doing and what you haven't been doing. So if you want to see whether you're equally doing as much knitting as you are doing cross stitch, then you can easily see. Again, this one has got the trend bars, so over on the side you will see for the month all the different things that you've done and how much you've stitched on something. Again, you'll go into the year view, and in the year view you just go and select your WIP. So if I go to WIP 2, you'll see it changes. So WIP 2, this is saying it's got stitched 6 times or 6 days in January. And of course, you've got your trend bars for your total days of stitched in the year. Now, if, for instance, you've gone in and you've put a finish date to say, well, I finished that WIP now. So this one, I'm using the enter your WIP names here. Imagine that that's a project. If I now go into my year view, and if that had already been in there, you'll notice that it turns the dark purple color. So again, if you complete the project and you put a finish date in, it will easily, at a glance, show you what projects you finished this year and what projects are still outstanding and how well you're doing on them. This one doesn't have a stats tab because obviously there's no stats to follow. It's just how many days you've stitched on it. Again, you've got your WIPGO board, a way of tracking and to sort of just easily be able to see what you have or haven't done. So if you have used my Excel trackers before and you would like the new 2026 version, they are on the website. If you've never used them and you would like to, then you can easily navigate yourself over to them. I will put the link to my website up here and also in the description box below. But just so that you can see, literally, this is my website. You just go to here where it says shop, click on shop, and you'll see the 2026 project tracker, counting your stitches. That's the blue and taupe coloured one. And you've got the pink and taupe one for the counting your days. Very important, people. They are only compatible with Excel. They will not work with any of the Google Sheets or any other application. They will only work with Excel, unfortunately. I did try to have time to look to see whether I could get them to format for Google Sheets, but I'm not really a Google Sheet person. I'm definitely more an Excel person. And because of the complicated formulas that it uses to pull the information from one sheet to the other, unfortunately, I've not been able to get Google Sheets to do the same thing. But if you love Excel or you like to track and you want something that's super simple to just stick the data in and it's going to show you sort of roughly what you want to know, then they're there for you if you would like them. Again, they're exactly the same price as they were last year, £5. I personally have both because I track both. If I'm working on full coverage or anything that's digital that will give me the number of stitches that I've stitched in a day, I will enter that into my counting the stitches. But I will also, when I've done that, go into my how many days have I stitched on it and put that I stitched on it that day. So the counting stitches really is just better for my numbers, the data crunching. And my counting the days is genuinely what I do anyway. So, but I find both very, very useful for two completely different reasons. But that's me. I would say that. I love to see the numbers, because I can't see it on the stitching. So yeah, so anyone that's interested in them, I can't believe that I'm ahead of the curve. I think last year I was like right up against the clock, to the point that I had people saying, are you going to do your trackers? Because, you know, I want to get organised for next year. And I was just like, yeah, so do I, but I'm not there yet. So yeah, I tried to be ahead of the curve this time, so at least you had the trackers at the ready for your 2026 planning. I mean, what I could do is I could actually, when my plans are decided, I've got a rough idea, but when my plans are decided, I could do a video to show you me loading mine, if that would be helpful. So yeah, if that would be helpful and you would like that, then please put a comment in the comments below and I will pick that up, and I will make sure that when the decision is made as to what my plans are for 2026 and I start loading up my trackers, then I can use that as a demonstration of how I use them. See, people, I've been so productive, you know. I've done stitching, I've done my Excel trackers, I've uploaded them, I've done all that, and I've also done this. This is that little something different that I was talking about. Now, you're probably wondering, like, Teresa, what is that? This, my dear friends, is a book nook. It's designed for years 14 and over. Let me tell you, I don't know very many 14-year-olds. Well, actually, probably 14-year-olds would do better at building this than I did. But I have done one of these before, which I did for my mum. But this is my one that I've done. Let me get it close up and personal for you. There you go. Look at that. I love a good book nook. Love it. So, as well as doing all of the other things, I did spend my time building this over a number of different evenings. It's got like a little light on it. It's got mechanics underneath. But I love it. So, what is it, I hear you say? This is the back. Not that you'd see any of that. So, the idea is, this will sit on your bookshelf. Let me see if I can get some books as an example. Right, we have books. Little demonstration. So basically, the way this works, if you've got a bookshelf with books on it, or you've got a shelf with anything on it, anything that sits against it, the idea is that you'll have a number of books, and then this sits in the middle. And they've got all different types. She says, turn the light on. You've got all different types that you can do. And the idea is that if you've got a shelf full of books, this sits in the middle of the books so that you've got something pretty to look at. And then you can just turn the little lights on and you've got like these little displays in and amongst your books. How gorgeous is that? Doesn't really look the same without the books, admittedly. Look at that. They do all different types of ones to do. So I have got another one to do that Lauren bought for me. We did one already for my mum. And I think Lauren's got one as well to do. So yeah, but they're called Rolife. I'll put a link in the description box below for anyone that's interested. I mean, look, it's even got like a glass top. So if it's in a bookshelf where you've got like an area there and it's in a nice, you know, darkish room, all the glow would come from the top as well as from the front. How gorgeous is that? So for those of you that were only here for the cross stitch, I thank you so much for hanging out with me. But if you are interested in the other things that I've been doing, then yeah, there's a little bit more to come. And obviously if you wanted to hear about the life update, then that'll be at the end, so you will have to just skip past this if this is not your bag. So on the quilting front and the things to do with sewing and quilting, because of course it's rude not to these days, I have 2 projects that I have started, and I also went to the Newmarket Quilt Show with the lovely Susie. So before I get to the quilt show bit, let me show you the projects that I've started. Now I think I might have shared one of these panels. So I'm currently decided that I wanted to have a little go at stitching on this. This is the Sweet Pea embroidery freeform table runner. As you can see, it's basically an in the hoop project. They do 3 different hoop sizes, so 5x7, 6x10 or 7x12, and each one of these is a block. So you've got like block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4 and block 5, and it turns into a table runner. So I was like, I quite like the idea of that. 1, it's in the hoop, and 2, it gets me using the embroidery side of my machine and I can practice some stuff and yada yada. This was my first block that I did. And I know that it's extra colourful, but that's because the rug that I've got in my living room is like a multicoloured rug to add colour to my otherwise rather boringly bland living room, all barring my fuchsia pink kitchen. But I've got fuchsia pink in the kitchen, but I've also got this sort of yellow colour throws on my chairs, basically to cover the chairs at the moment because the girls. But all of these colours are in the rug, but there's more colours in the rug. So I was like, well, maybe I need to incorporate all of the colours into a table runner and make some cushions out of all the different colours to match the rug. So that was the original plan. So I already started with this one. So this was like my test out. And as you can see, I don't think I did so well because I had to cut the edges. So once you put your, so let me show you at the back. So you put your stabilizer in the hoop, and then it gives you a placement line to put your wadding down, and you put your wadding down, and then you get a tack down line, which then tack downs that. And then from that point onwards, you just put bits of fabric on. So you lay like the pink fabric, and then that stitches it down, you flap it back, and then it gives you another placement line, and that's where you'll put that down, and then it will stitch that down. You cut the fabric around it, and then yeah, you get how this goes. The only snag here was that I don't think I cut it close enough to the actual stitching, because I was very worried that I was going to cut through the stitches, like the tack down stitch. But after I made that mistake once, I'm like, that's okay. I understand how this works now, and it's not as hard as I thought. So I went ahead and made some more because I can. So this is obviously the one that I'd already done, and then I made this one, and each one of these is like its own little block, so they're super easy to put together. Again, I used the stabilizer, stuck in my wadding, and then the fabric at the top, and then the embroidery machine does all the jazzy stuff at the end. So that was my block number 2. And then I was like, well, I don't want to just use those colours because there's more than those colours. So I was like, right, okay, so we need more colours. So I created this one. Let's put that one there. So this was the 3rd one that I went with. So it's got the oranges and the, I don't know what you call that. Is that a lilac or a mauve or a purple? And a berry wine colour. And then also I've got this one. So the way this works, she says, is like that. And then you put them together. You sew along this line here. Like that. She says, if I can mimic it for you. And then it's going to join all of my pieces together. And then you go round the outside with a binding, and obviously, I don't know, I'm still undecided whether I'm going to put the backing and the binding the same colour, or whether I'm going to have a different colour backing and then a different colour binding. But yeah, you get the idea, people. So, I mean, when they're all together, although you wouldn't necessarily put that to that, would you? So it would probably be more like, I mean, the world is my oyster. I can decide however I want it to look. But yeah, as an example, it would sort of, yeah, you get the idea. But basically they all get connected together, and then you put the back on, and then you make the binding, and then you've got yourself a table runner. What I love about these is each individual one doesn't take too long to do. So on a good morning, providing I've got the fabric cut out, I can whiz one of these up before I start work in the morning, whilst I'm doing other things as well. So the pattern calls for 5 of these blocks, but obviously my table is bigger than this table runner. So I've done 4 already. So there's the 4. There's the 4. So I still need to probably do, I would say I'm going to need 9 in total for my table. So I've still got probably 5 to go, but it's a good start. I've made a good start, and I'm learning stuff. I don't think it looks too bad, even on the back. Look, they look quite pretty, people. So that is my first quilting project that I've been working on, and then the other project that I've been gagging to start. This one was a little bit more tricky to get my hands on, I'll be honest. This is the Kimberbell Hopping Down the Bunny Trail bench pillow, to make this pillow here. It's just so cute, people, so cute. However, the one little snag that I hadn't realized, given it in today's world, you know, if it's not a paper chart or a printed chart, it's normally a download PDF. Unfortunately, this isn't available as a download PDF, and you have to get it on a CD-ROM. And I'm like, really? It's a CD? I'm like, that's new. Because you get all of the files, all of the embroidery files, because it's an embroidery type thing. And you can do the whole thing in the hoop. So because obviously it came like this on a disc, and me having this new modern technology house that's got laptops, and I've got PCs, and I've got iPads, but the one thing it doesn't have is a CD-ROM drive. So I had to buy myself an external CD-ROM drive just to be able to get to the information out of this. I know, I was just like, really? This is new. This is new. So I've gone back to getting a CD-ROM. I'm saying that I don't think Kimberbell only does CD-ROM stuff. I think there are some designs that she does that are PDF, but that one was not. So I went in and I downloaded all of the stuff. I had to order the unboxed kit from here in the UK from a company called Stitch Stitch. It's the only company that I found in the UK that is like a Kimberbell supplier. But she said she hasn't got the boxed versions, but she does have the unboxed version, which is where they make it themselves. So she sent me a bundle pack, but said that she was still waiting because of the problems that we're having here in the UK and America with the shipping. It's a container shipment, which basically means until the container is full of stuff, the container will not ship. But she doesn't have overall say. So she said, I've got most or pretty much all of the fabrics except one. So I was like, well, that's fine. I said, just send that on when you've got it. And she did say it was only a matter of weeks away. So I got this gorgeous embellishment kit, which has got all of the lovely bits and pieces in it. And then obviously I got the fabrics. So I got all of the fabrics. So here they are. Look at these. How gorgeous are these? So that's the backing fabric there. This is part of the border fabrics. Look at those bees. How cute are they? Gorgeous, gorgeous. Some flowers. Now, I must admit, I was very concerned at first because I'm like, what if I do it wrong? What if I do it wrong and there's not enough fabric? Maybe I should just order like a certain amount of the fabric myself because I might run out if I do it wrong. But I really didn't need to worry because you get way more than you need. These are part of the border. So around the border here, these little bits here, these have to be cut exactly, apparently. So I'm like, God, I do hope I don't get this wrong. So I've got these ones that are my border materials. How colourful is this? I'm going to be like, oh, I can't wait. Well, I can't wait anyway. I haven't been able to wait for ages. So they are some of the fabrics that go around the borders. But then I had to use this. Honestly, talk about learning curve, people. Talk about a learning curve. So when I was looking at the instructions for the block by block, first of all, it gives you all of your fabrics. So, and this is the fabrics, and it tells you which part or which block, because these are done in blocks, and this is all sort of embroidery and in the hoop stuff. You have a list of the fabrics for each of the different parts, here and here. And then you've got your borders and your backing here. So I'm like, okay, makes total sense. Until I got to this page. And I was like, oh dear, I have no idea what I'm doing. And even up here it said, the highlighted fabric cutting diagram shows the block by block quilting cut size. If using standard size, cut sizes in your fabric according to the size. So I'm like, I'm confused. I had to go on a call with Susie for her to explain what it was actually getting at. But the crux of it were, anything with the blue, because I'm going to be doing quilting on top of it, needs to be a slightly bigger size than if you didn't. So all of this over here where it's in a blue, you can see block by block. So everything block by block is slightly bigger than the standard size. But oh my Lord, people, it took me ages to work this out. Ages to work it out. And I was terrified. Absolutely terrified. And I was like, I need to phone a friend. I need to phone a friend. Someone needs to explain what I'm doing. So anyway, I've watched enough videos now that I was like, okay, so the way you do this is you need to have little pouches for each block so that you can cut all your pieces and put them all in. So because I ironed everything, I used my best press and I ironed it all. I'm doing it slightly different. So whereas most people are just, you would cut the size that it says, and then when you get to the embroidery machine and it does the placement line, and then you put your fabric down, and then once it's done the tack down stitch, you go around with scissors and you cut it out. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that cutting in the hoop out. That's the reason for the Brother ScanNCut. So I've gone through all of the fabrics in the book, and it tells you what size you need for all of the different fabrics. And I have cut out all of the pieces in accordance to the different blocks. So this is my carrot home block. I've got my bunny boot block. I've got my bunny felt friend and dimensional mini quilt. Of course, it's just two tiny little bits of fabric. As you can see, my bags are overkill here. Totally overkill. Hopping sign and friends. There's nothing in the blossoms and beehives yet because the fabric, I'm still waiting on some of the fabric for that. And then we've got Mushroom House, Blossom and Swings, and Mini Quilt Line. And I've got to be honest, now that I've cut it all out, I was like, I think I went a bit gun-ho with these bags, because I have got some actual relatively smallish bags that all of this would have fit in, but I'm like, well, it's too late because I've already done it now. So what I'm doing, I'm cutting out the sizes that it says that I need for the applique bits, and then I'm gonna attach this to some Bondweb so that it's got like a slightly stickier background. Stick it on a mat, and then using the PES file that I got off of my handy dandy CD-ROM, people, I am going to make cut files in Brilliance to then put into my brother's ScanNCut, so that all of these will be cut out in the sizes and the shapes that they need, so that when I get to the machine embroidery, I won't need to cut anything. It will give me a placement line, and I will already have the shape that I need, and then it will do a tack down line. I love it when I've got a plan. I know how to do it, I just need to get there. So I've literally yesterday morning or Friday morning finished doing all of the cutting of these pieces. I've still got a bit more cutting to do, but once I've got them all cut, I can then stick it all on Bondweb, and then I can get cutting. But I was worried about not having enough fabric. And I was like, what if I cut something wrong and then there's not enough fabric? Yeah, right. As if that was going to happen. Look at all this wastage. This, from what I can see, is all the leftovers. I mean, all right, yeah, I might have gone a bit wrong on that one. I did do a couple wrong. But look at the size of these pieces. Given that most of this is for like tiny little bits that are being attached to the pillow and then it's being done, I'm like, yeah. I've got so many scraps now. So many scraps. Look at all the scraps. I mean, I call them scraps, but they're not really scraps. I could actually do something with these. They make great cross-stitch backgrounds for finishing. But I'm also thinking, well, what else, what other things can I make with this stuff? Because there's just loads of it. And this, from what I can see, is just not needed. I've cut the bit off that I needed, and I don't appear to use any of this for the borders or for the rest of the, yeah, look at it. Look at it. So much fabric. But I mean, they're handy little, I say they're handy. I mean, obviously that's not very handy. But on the other hand, that is. If I wanted to do a cross stitch pillow and I've got something that's got brown on it and I just wanted to edge the side of it so that it's slightly longer, job done. So I'm like, yeah, I can see how this is working. This is working for me, people. So like I say, I mean, I've made a really good start on my Kimberbell Hopping Down the Bunny Trail bench pillow. I'm just waiting on some border fabric, which she accidentally left out of the pack, which is a good thing that I started doing the cutting and checking, because otherwise we wouldn't have known it was missing. The main fabric that you use for the front that you attach all the applique to, that's the fabric that is the hold up. Of course it would be the main bit, but I'm like, well, it's okay, because at the moment I'm still cutting things out, cutting things to size. I still need to do the brother ScanNCut and ScanCut them all out. I need to attach the Bondweb to them. So yeah, I've got enough to be keeping me busy until they turn up. But she's assured me that she got confirmation that they shipped, I think, to arrive on Monday with her. So theoretically, she should have those in the post to me by Tuesday. So worst case scenario, I would say by next weekend, I could be in a position that I'm actually making all the stuff. So can't wait for that. But like I said, I went off to the Newmarket Quilt Show with Susie on the 8th of November. It was a perfect quilt show to go to. It wasn't like the Festival of Quilts or anything that was too big where it would be too overwhelming for me. It was a much smaller affair, and Susie did say it was a great one to go to, and she was totally on the money with it, because there was enough there that I could go and make some purchases, but without being overwhelmed. They also had quilts that you could look at, so I could get an idea of styles and, you know, what I like, what I don't like. And there was just enough shopping and just enough quilt stuff, and still leave not feeling like that you needed another 2 days to be there to actually see everything. Because obviously I had an idea of some of the things that I needed to get whilst I was there, it was perfect opportunity. So one of the things that I really wanted, and I knew that I wanted because I do really like this whole applique stuff and using the Brother ScanNCut to do the cutting, I've got my Raven quilt that me and Susie are looking to start, I think, either towards the end of the year or the beginning of next year. And because I definitely want to do it using the Brother ScanNCut rather than me cutting anything out, I picked myself up a big box of Bondweb. So, and I was like, well, it will get plenty of use, because at the moment I've been buying like a little like 1 meter roll, and I think I've done that about 5 times. So this is 45 centimeters by 30 meters. So I shouldn't run out of that for a long time. That should do me plenty. But what I like about that one, so that one is the Bondweb. I've also tried the Steam and Light. I think it's called Steam and Light. Which I also got on the roll. But with that one, for some bizarre reason, when you then try and you do it, and then when I tried to put it on the Brother ScanNCut, it fell off the mat. Whereas with the Bondweb, it doesn't. It's almost like it's almost like a rubbery feeling. So I think I prefer the Bondweb. So the Steam and Light is probably great in its own right in certain instances, but not. I'm finding it doesn't work very well with my Brother ScanNCut. So the Bondweb was the way to go for me. Also, because I was doing the bench pillow, I sort of said, well, I wanted some nice wadding or batting, because I don't want it to sort of over years go bunchy. So whilst I was at the show, I thought I'd pick myself some up. So I got this one, which is a bamboo blend. So it's 50% bamboo, 50% cotton. And I managed to pick myself up some of this for, well, and a 3 meters. So plenty. I shouldn't need any battening for some time, unless I have lots and lots of things that require puffiness. So I managed to grab that. So they were the things that I went knowing that I definitely wanted. And then the other thing that I saw that I really wanted, but they don't seem, well, I can't seem to find it here in the UK. I saw on, I think it was the Fat Quarter Shop, they were doing Primitive Gatherings flannel material. It was gorgeous. It was like, not tartans, but you understand what I mean. It had like the ginghamy look about it. Whilst I was at the retreat, whilst I was at the Newmarket show, I was hoping to find something of a similar ilk. So, couldn't find something exactly, but I did find these, which are perfect. So it's still got that flannelette type feel to it. So it's nice and soft and warm. And I was like, you know what? That's great for the back of a quilt. It's great for, you know, applique or applique or applique, depending on who you are, but also cross stitch finishing to put on the back of projects. So I'm like, you just can't go wrong with this stuff. So I got obviously this, I don't know, that's sort of a different color. That is actually more of an olive green than it's showing on the camera. This one is obviously that lovely yellow color, which I've got a lot of in my house. We got a nice chocolate brown, a burnt orange. This one, I need to do a swatch of this on my sofa, because I think it's actually very close in colour to my sofa, which would make some really good like cushiony type things along with the other colours. So yeah, love. But I love the fact that it's just so soft and fluffy. I mean, no doubt there's probably an art of how you use this, that you wouldn't use it, or you don't maybe play with it the same as you do cotton, but I'm sure I will find out soon enough. But yeah, I got those to start with. Like I say, they're not the Primitive Gathering ones. that I was sort of like, oh, I love those. So also, whilst I was at the Newmarket retreat, I did pick myself up some little kit type things because it's rude not to, right? And because I don't really know exactly what I like and what I don't like, I'm sort of trying to dabble with a little bit of everything so that I can try a little bit of everything. One of the things that I saw, and I saw this and was like, oh, I have to have one of those, is this. So Kim Porter, she hasn't got like an online store. Obviously, she's got Facebook and she's got an Instagram. But it's like a little log cabin thing. But the whole thing comes as a kit. The one that I saw at the show, it was like in whites and neutrals. It was gorgeous, people. And as you can see, this is the whole kit. And all of these colours and these strips are already made for me. And it's called the Irregular Log Cabin Cushion. And apparently it comes with all the instructions. The backing, wide borders, foundation piece. Yeah. I'm going to give it a go. I don't know how hard it's going to be to do. I mean, it looks fairly self-explanatory, she says, if I turn it around the right way. But again, it'll be one of those things that I'll give it a go. And if I get stuck, then there might need to be a phone a friend. Poor Susie is getting so many phone a friends. I need more quilty friends so that I've got extra people to reach out to when I start to get stuck. Also, whilst I was there, and this was literally one of the first stalls that we went to, and I was a bit like, oh, I'm not sure I can do most of this stuff because it looks a bit complicated. This one, the guy was like, anyone can do this one. He said, we call it an advanced beginner. He said, but as long as you know how to sew, he said, you'll be fine. But I liked the fact that it was a quick one. So it's like a centre border, a skinny border, another border, another border, another border, and your job done. It's done. And when I saw the picture on the back of the fabric, this is the fabric, I was like, oh, I love that. It's so festively Christmassy. So festively Christmassy. So I was like, yeah. How hard can that be? Sorry about the crinkle. This one is a particularly crinkly one. So it's got a main decorative panel. It's got the treetop print. And then it's got the bear print. And then a deer print. And I'm assuming that each of that is for each section. But not a particularly hard one. So, you know, if I get overwhelmed with all the extra hard stuff, I've got some easy stuff to be cracking on with, she says. And then I'd already decided I wanted some of these alphabeties. Now, apparently these alphabeties are great for like when you've got things that you're doing, like you set them in their sets. I didn't realise, and Susie's just realised as well, they do these with like little clips on, and I was like, oh, I need some of those because the clippy ones might actually be better for me than this. It might not be, I don't know, but very handy to have. So we got those while we was there. I have been looking at foundation paper piecing and really loved the concept of it. But then when I was talking to Susie as well, she was like, well, you should really have a little look at English paper piecing as well, because the English paper piecing would be something that you could easily do on the train. First things first was the English paper piecing, this one. This, when I saw it, was on, it was actually a table runner where it was the circle, and there was 3 circles in a row with a border around the outside instead of just one on a cushion. And then the lady started demonstrating how you do it. And I was like, I love this idea. I love this idea. So this one comes with the paper pieces and the instructions included. So I was like, I love that. So me and Susie was looking through this and I was like, okay, so I need fabric. And she was like, and it's super easy. It's something easy that you could sit and do on the train. Once you've got it all prepped, you just need a few bits prepped. So I was like, great. Then the bit that I was really interested in was this. It was the foundation paper piecing, which I'd already seen. And I was like, I like the idea of that. And this one, obviously, it's got the leaves. And this one is sort of like, you know, the pinks one side with the blues. And then the blues and the greens and the yellows and the oranges and the reds. But I was like, well, if this is a cushion and this is a cushion, I was like, how's that going to work? I said, because then I'm going to have cushions that look completely different. And she was like, well, if you use the same fabric, it'll be fine. And I was like, what a great idea. So, because I was like, well, to go and buy the fabric just for the English paper piecing. And she sort of said it needs to be a certain type of fabric, because anything that's got too much, that's a bit too bland, it doesn't work as well as some of the stuff that's got a little bit more detail in it. So, we have these gorgeous fabrics, people. And when I saw these, I sort of fell in love with them straight away. Would you look at these? So I've got, now I've got to remember which one, which batch is what. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. I think they go together as a set. I might be wrong, but they go together as a set, as you can see. So I was like, well, that will work. That will work for sort of like 2 opposites, maybe, like there and there. But then I was like, well, then I need these to be different, because otherwise it's going to look the same all the way around on this. So we've got these ones, she says, but we've also got, to put those there, these ones, which is like, they're very similar. They've got like they're sort of matching, but in a different tone. These are like the reddish tone. And I was like, I think that would work. I think it will work. So they've got some nice dark colours in there. So now I think these are the, this is where I don't know which batch belongs to which, but you get the idea. So basically, I think these ones go with that batch. So the idea is you'll have like the reddier versions. So if I move those there, and then you've got, so like, then you've got the brownier versions. See? Because I mean, that one is in the red. And then that one is in the orange. So yeah, I mean, I've sort of got it in my head, she says. Sort of got it in my head. But I'm like, at least that way I can justify the cost of all the material, because I wanted material that will go in my house and what I like. And I was like, well, then that will work, because that is material that isn't just for English paper piecing. It is also for foundation paper piecing and anything that's left over. So, and I was like, well, if I like them enough and there's enough fabric there, I could do 2 cushions of each as well. So yeah, I am absolutely loving the fabrics. Oh, do you look at those? They are just, and what I love about some of these fabrics is they've actually got like gold. They're like glittery gold. I don't know if you can see. Love, love, love. What is not to like? I mean, that. Look at that. Oh, you can see it. It's gorgeous. I love it. Of course, there was lots of, I say lots of purchasing. I didn't go crazy, as you can see. I mean, I was very specific. I went with an aim of certain things that I wanted. But I also didn't want to just go and buy stuff for the sake of buying it and then be like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with that, because that's when you're just buying because you want something. But if you've not got an idea of what you're going to use it for, or what you've got in mind for it, then for me, because I don't know enough about it, it's a pointless exercise. So I went with intention. I went with purpose. I think I did quite well, people. So that is the quilty stuff. So yeah, 2 projects started. I've got a number of projects now, obviously waiting in the wings. We've got the Ravens quilt. I've got my little chicken thing that I need to make. I am spreading myself around, trying a little bit of everything. So yeah, very, very exciting stuff. That is it for the actual stuff. Sorry, Bonbons is making all sorts of noises under the table currently. So then what else to tell you? Oh, my call to action, people. So this weekend, as example, so most of last night I was incommunicado with people on Facebook because all of the papercraft stuff that I had, which is currently in the wardrobes over there, it takes up the whole of the wardrobe, and I've not used it. I'll be honest with you, other than the last time that I probably shared it on FlossTube, I think I've maybe made about 3 cards. So I'm like, I cannot justify having all this stuff. I had stamps coming out my ears, dyes, paints, inks, ink pads, Copic markers, cutting machines, foiling machines. Yeah, the list goes on, people. And cardstock. I've got cardstock coming out my ears, and I'm just not using it. So I'm like, well, I don't want to just give it away to like a, you know, a charity shop. I'm like, if I can at least sell some of it, then that then comes back into the kitty to then be applied to things that I'm currently doing. So I've started putting all my stuff up on Facebook Marketplace. What a nightmare, people. First of all, I was trying to find a destash area to try and sell some of it. And there was like a general crafters destash thing. I put all of these pictures up with the stuff. Not one person. And I'm like, well, what sort of a craft? I mean, far short of give the stuff away to them for like £1, and then you've got to think, well, then you've got to post it to them. And I'm like, well, if you won't pay that money for it, then you're not going to pay for the postage either, are you? So I was just like, oh, I'm not sure about this. So then someone said, put it on Facebook Marketplace. Now, 1 or 2 things have gone, but people are expecting a total steal. You know, there's brand new stuff that has never been used, brand new stamps like Simon stamps or Simon Says stamps, stamps by me, cardio, all of these different brands that, you know, you can look online and you can see how much they are new. Mine have not even been opened, never been used, because you can tell when they've been used. And it's like, for what is like 20 quid, they're sort of saying, oh, well, I'll give you 2 quid for it. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. So I don't know. I don't know how this works, people. But all I know is I've spent so much of my time trying to batch stuff up into, put it on Facebook Marketplace, and then deal with the people going backwards and forwards. So I had a woman here this morning who did come and pick up some of the Altenew mini ink cubes, which I had 5 full trays of those. She came and got those, and then went rummaging the cupboard. I mean, she actually left with a lot more stuff than she originally planned to. But I was going to say, for any of you out there that either do paper crafting or know of paper crafting and how you destash it, what am I doing wrong? Because I'm at a loss here. I've got all of this stuff I need to clear out. I don't want to give it away for nothing, but then at the same time, it's like I'm beginning to think, well, that's what I'm going to need to do. But then even on Facebook Marketplace, when I'm saying, well, okay, you can have it for £5, but you're going to have to come and collect it, they're like, oh, can you not send it to me? And then when you say, okay, well, the postage is, I don't know, £3.55, and they're like, oh, I'm not paying £3.55 for postage. I'm like, really? Any steer you can give me on anything to do with, you know, paper crafts of any, like, how do you destash it? Because I'm at a loss here. What else to tell you? I did explain to you about Blackpool and why Blackpool didn't happen. Obviously, Lauren was in hospital. She was admitted with suspected sepsis. Even when they released her from the hospital, she was still really poorly, to the point that she couldn't even walk herself out, that we had to have a wheelchair because she was going to pass out. And I'm like, really? And you're sending her out like this? And they're like, well, we just don't have the space. Honestly, the NHS is on its knees. After she was treated in A&E majors, they put her on fluids, they gave her antibiotics, and they said she needs to be admitted, but we're waiting for a bed. So I was like, fine, okay. We weren't allowed in A&E majors with her because they were too busy and they didn't have a space, like a cubicle. She was like in a, I don't know, like on the side of something. In the end, because obviously, as far as I was concerned, they'd done the emergency treatment for now, and she was waiting to be put on a ward, on a bed, they sent her back out into the A&E waiting area on a chair, and I kid you not, 27 hours we sat there. 27 hours, no one was doing her obs. She was deteriorating like it was going out of fashion. In the end, I was making a bit of a nuisance of myself at the reception, going, well, like, what the hell? I was like, no one's even checked her. No one's checked her obs. And they're like, well, that's because she's waiting for a bed on the ward. So I was like, I appreciate that. I said, but no one's done her obs. And they're like, yeah, but she's not under A&E now. She's under the medics team. So I was like, well, where are the medics team? And she was like, well, the medics team are on the ward. And I went, but she's not on the ward. And she was like, well, I know that. She said, that's what I'm saying. And I'm like, so what? So you're telling me that because she's no longer under A&E, but she's actually not in with the medics on the ward, her care is nothing? Is that what that is then? It was bizarre. It was bizarre. And then eventually she got put onto a ward at about 11 o'clock at night. And they said that we was allowed to go to the ward to settle, basically settle her in and say goodnight. She didn't care as long as she had a bed. She's like, I just need a bed, Mum. I feel terrible. I mean, she looked dreadful. And the fact that obviously she felt so awful. And then blow me, when we got to the ward, she didn't even have a bed on the ward. She had a bed in the corridor with a bit of plastic in front of her so that people couldn't look at her. But she had nowhere to put her phone, nowhere to put her belongings. I was like, oh, dear God. I mean, admittedly, after 24 hours or so, they managed to get her on the ward properly. But yeah, now is not a good time for anyone to go into hospital. And the fact that that was Lauren's first experience of being in hospital, it was brutal. Absolutely brutal. And then when they released her too early. So since she came out from hospital, she's also now been back to the GP, I think 3 or 4 times. Thankfully, she looks to be on the up now. So the temperature's down, the heart rate's down. She's managing to eat small amounts. So yeah, she's turning the tides and turning the corner. So yeah, it's been eventful. Very eventful, people. Right, on that note, hopefully this video is not too much of a monster. I know one thing, I am very parched now and I'm feeling quite exhausted since this is the second time around of doing this video. And I don't know whether this is any more rambly or less rambly than the first one, but you'll never know that because you didn't get to see the first one. So thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the support on the channel. As always, people, I hope you have the rest of a fabulous November. Get all of the stitching and the crafting and all the good things done. I look forward to seeing you again next month. And if I manage to get any videos uploaded between now and then hurrah. If not, I will see you in December. Can you believe it will be nearly Christmas? You never know. I might have my Christmas decorations up by then. So until next time, people, thank you again and bye-bye for now.